Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to make pickled eggs. And before we begin, I'd like to give a special shout out to my biggest fans, my grandkids. Gannon, Rayla, Eden, Bryn, and Nevaeh, and then of course my one that lives home in Pennsylvania still, Harper. Okay, let's get this show on the road. So in today's video, we're going to make 3 quart jars, 10 eggs in each. And we're going to make 3 different styles. Old Reliable red beet eggs. Then I'm going to make buffalo eggs. And then we're going to make crab boil eggs. Eggs can be made in a variety of different ways. There's thousands of different recipes out there. The first 2 I named are ones I had before and they're hometown favorites. The crab boil one is what I've been wanting to make for a while that I've never seen a recipe for. So, being from Pennsylvania, we have these kind of eggs all over the place. Souders, everybody makes them and sells them in the stores. The Amish make them up there. But now living in Florida, your choices are very, very limited, if you can even find any at all. It's just not a thing down here. So let's get this show on the road. Okay, for the first recipe today, I'm going to be making the buffalo eggs. I've had these before, and a lot of recipes call for Frank's Red Hot, but that really doesn't give that buffalo flavor that we're used to. So the first thing we're going to do is put a half a cup of water. Then we're going to put 1 cup of vinegar. And I'm using white vinegar here. Let's see here. 1, 2. Now these are single batches for quart jars. This might be a little over, but you can adjust. And if it doesn't fill the jar all the way, on any of these recipes, top it off with vinegar. And then we're going to put in 1 cup of buffalo sauce. I'm using Moore's, and this has a little garlic to it as well. But you want it to be thin. If it's too thick, it doesn't saturate into the egg. And people have told me to, poke holes in the eggs and all kinds of things like that. And I don't like doing that because then they can break up and your fluid can get really cloudy. And that's not something we want to do. So I put in the buffalo sauce. Now I'm putting in a little of this hot sauce just to kick it up a little bit. And get that in there as well. Okay. Now, we're going to add in, for some reason when you add a little bit of sugar, it changes the profile and gets that hot burning sensation to like sink in to the egg. So 1 teaspoon of sugar. Now, a lot of buffalo eggs have a little spice to them, a little kick to them, and I'm not really a really spicy kind of person. But on the eggs, because they soak up so much, I want to add something just a little bit different. So this is Zatarain's shrimp and crab boil concentrate. This stuff is super, super strong. It will like tear your whole guts and insides out. It is so strong. You want to put just 1 to 2 drops in. That might have been even a little too much. Give you a little backstory on this real quick. I made a crab boil one time up home in Pennsylvania. My brother-in-law and all his friends and everybody were over. And not knowing what we're doing and being a man, not following recipes, we made a big boil with like 10 pounds of shrimp and some potatoes and like clams and the corn and everything you do. And not realizing, we saw this little bottle and threw the whole bottle into the pot. Now our pot is only a 60 quart pot, so it's not very big. It's not the biggest one, it's not the smallest one, but still. And that's only 3/4 full. So as this stuff soaked in and boiled, everything just absorbed all that oil. And we could hardly eat it. The one guy on the deck had his shirt open, was kicked back in his chair, solid red, sweating to death because it was so strong. So we learned our lesson with that. Okay, now we got this together. We're gonna heat this up and get this simmering. Stirring around, getting it thinned out. Get that sugar in there. I'm going to actually change and get a whisk out here. Get this all thinned up. Then we're going to bring this up to a simmer. Okay, now that that's come up to a slight boil there, we're going to shut this off. And we're going to get our jar. Again, this has 10 eggs in it, and we're not going to be able to fit 12 in there. So now we're just going to add this. Let me get my canning funnel here so I don't make a mess. I'm going to pour this in and make sure all the eggs are covered right up to the top. And that was a pretty good guess. Very little to throw away. And if you had 2 quarts, this will work out. Okay, now that everything's cleaned up with that particular set, we're going to go to the next one. And the next one is going to be crab boil eggs. This is one that I've been wanting to try for a long time, and I finally decided that it is the time to do it. So we're going to start again with 1 cup of water. I'm using a half cup, and that's why I need to put 2, so nobody's confused. And then we're going to put 1 cup of vinegar. Again, the white vinegar is what I'm using. Okay. Now, I'm actually turn this on a while. Just in case anybody's wondering why my stove is so small, my burners are so close together, I actually live in an RV. When I moved to Florida, sold my house, was living with my daughter, and we all decided to move to Florida, and now I live in an RV and loving the small space. Okay, now we're going to put in 1 teaspoon of the Zatarain's. Can I get that in there? There we go. The Zatarain's crab boil. 1 teaspoon in there. Again, this is for a quart recipe. Obviously, if you're making more than that, you double or whatever you're gonna. If you're gonna make a half gallon or a gallon, adjust appropriately. Let's see here. We're gonna do 1 teaspoon of sugar. And we're gonna do 1 teaspoon of Old Bay, because again, Old Bay is like the gospel. Then we're going to put in a couple drops of lemon juice. That should be good enough. Then we're going to put in some dehydrated onions, just a smidge here, just like a dash, I would call it. Some minced garlic. I'm using dried for everything because then it doesn't have to try to get soft while it's in with the eggs. All right, there's some garlic. And so now we're just going to stir this until it's starting to simmer and everything starts to soften and the sugar dissolves. So again, with this being a new recipe, it warmed up, I tasted it, it's almost there. So I'm going to add 1 more teaspoon of this crab boil. Just needs just a smidge more flavor. Okay guys, that 2nd teaspoon did the trick. So now this is going to come up here to, I'm going to get this nice and hot, because what happens is when this hot liquid hits those eggs in there for a couple seconds, the pores on those eggs will open up and they get soft a little bit, and that juice can then push through and get saturated in those eggs. All right. All right. Look at that, perfect. That came out perfect. Filled it right to the top. Right up to the top. That was the right recipe call there for that. All right. Now we'll get that sealed up, put to the side. Okay. Now last is Old Reliable. Red beet eggs. These are one of my favorite. Okay. We're going to start out with half a cup of water. Half a cup again of the distilled white vinegar. And we're letting the liquid a little short on this one because we actually used a whole can of red beets and the juice. You definitely need the juice. And we're going to take a whole can of red beets and try to get them there without making a huge mess. There we go. Make sure you get them all in there. Okay. And then this is the part where a lot of people differ. They like them sweet. They don't like them sweet. They like them more vinegary. So I use 2 tablespoons of sugar. So if anybody knows the Amish eggs up home, they got some nice sweetness to them. So we'll get this now simmering. And we cook the beets and the sugar and the vinegar and everything together because you want them flavors to get in with the beets along with the juices get mixed together. So we get a regular spoon here for this. And we're going to bring this up to a simmer. Alrighty, this is starting to come up to a boil here. And let that go for just a couple seconds. Make sure those beets get nice and hot and soak in some of that sugar and vinegar and all those flavors together. Okay, that should be good enough. Now, I'm going to swing my camera around here because this one's done a little different. I'm going to layer these in here. So I'm going to put some beets down in the bottom. I'm going to put some eggs in. Again, this is only 10 eggs. Put a little more beets in there. A little bit of that juice too. Put some more eggs. I want to make sure I have enough room for all my eggs. So if you have to toss some of the beets, that's okay. But you just want to make sure you get all the juice and all the eggs, of course. So that's probably going to be the end of my beets there. So let me see if I can pour this juice in there without making too much of a mess. Thankfully I have these wide mouth jars. I fill it up right to the top. And maybe I can slide a beet or two in there yet. Make it, there we go. Right up to the top. Alrighty. I'll have to squish this in there, it looks like. Yeah, I put too much beets in there, but that's okay. There's one jar complete. Okay, there's our finished jars and where they were made. Now what you need to do, shake these once daily, store for 2 weeks minimum, and then enjoy. So my daughter suggested something different this time. She's, Dad, you should write down your recipes so then somebody can screenshot it. So that's what I did this time. So here's the buffalo egg recipe. Here's the crab boil. And there's red beets. And all these recipes are for 1 quart. Enjoy. Again, I want to thank you very much for watching my videos. Hope you enjoy this recipe. And I will see you on the next one. Thank you.